Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome to Vlogmas Day 9. Today I'm going to be doing a end of year reading wrap up inspired by the video by Sarah Caroli, which I will leave in the description below. So she did a bunch of different questions, but I just picked the ones that I felt I had an answer for because I didn't read nearly as many books as she did throughout the year, but I just picked the ones that I liked. So the first question is, what was the most disappointing read of the year? I'm gonna say was The Ivies by Lexa Dawn. I remember being so excited for this book. I read it for book club with some of my friends and it just didn't deliver. Like, I remember getting frustrated because it felt like they had a really good concept but it just wasn't executed very well. There was a lot of holes in it and it just was really disappointing, so that's why I picked it for most disappointing book. Next one is a book that surprised me, which I said The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. This was an audiobook that I read over our summer vacation that I picked at random. Like, I think I picked it because I liked the cover or something and I wanted like a summary book and it sounded like one. But I read that in like a couple of days. It was really good. If I remember correctly, it's about this family who are all together at their property for a wedding and a lot of things happen, but it's all centered around this game that they play with water guns where they have to take each other out and whoever the last person standing wins. But it gets really deep and it's just such an interesting book that you read the description, look at the cover, and you think lighthearted, fun, easy read, and it is, but it's also like very emotional and very deep. So I would totally recommend reading that if you need something. For my favorite main character of the year, I picked Stevie Bell from the Truly Devious series. I read the original 3 books, I think it is, last year, and then I finished the other 2 in the same world this year. I just think that she was super fun and super relatable, a very interesting perspective to read from, considering all the different situations that she finds herself in and her unique way of tackling them. She's very singular yet very relatable. New favorite author I discovered this year, I said Leigh Bardugo via Six of Crows. That's a book my friends have been trying to get me to read for probably years at this point, and I understand why. I really want to read Crooked Kingdom and the rest of her books as well. I just haven't gotten to it, but I should get on that. They just have one of those writing styles that is very easy to fall into, very detail oriented yet not overly descriptive, and it was really enjoyable to read, and I'm excited to read the rest of their series. For the happiest book that I read, I picked the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. I honestly don't think I need to explain that any further. Most frustrating book of the year, I said Funeral Songs for Dying Girls by Cherie Demeline. I read this book for book club as well. I honestly don't remember really what it was about, but I do remember getting frustrated a lot while reading it. It felt like it had all of the right pieces to be a really great book, but they just didn't fit together very well. And I don't know if it's like the author or the pieces just didn't go together or what, but a lot of it felt like unfinished or like it could be really cool, but it just wasn't. Like, it wasn't working the way I thought it would. So yeah, that was really frustrating to read. Best book adaptation of the year, take your guesses. That's right, the Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show. At this point, only 2 episodes have come out, but I really like it so far. It's definitely kind of weird to watch because it feels wrong almost to see it in video form, but I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm really happy to see how well it has been made and how accurate it is to the books, and I honestly feel like it's gonna keep going for a long time. I think that the attention that it's already gotten after 2 episodes should be enough to push it for another season, I'm hoping. Yeah, I would really love to see the entire book series play out, but who knows how long that will take. Okay, the longest book that I read this year was Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion. I didn't write down the exact page number. I think it was like 500 something pages, but it was by far the longest book that I read. It's the second book in the Legendborn series, I believe it was called. It was just one of those books that every turn of the page was like something else came up. It was so cool. It was exactly the sequel that we were looking for, or that I was looking for, and I just remember not being able to put it down. So even though it was very long, I kind of wish it was longer. Like, I could have read another 500 pages. The shortest book I read was Crying in Hmart by Michelle Zauner. I feel like that one was the perfect amount of length for what it was. It was a very heavy topic. It felt long enough that I got like a full story and a full message, but not so long that it was starting to get upsetting or anything. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. I again put the Heartstopper series for this one. I read that over the summer pretty quickly, and it was one of my favorite book series that I've ever read, especially looking forward to season 2 of the TV show on Netflix. And then volume 5 came out, I think a couple of days ago in the US anyway. Now season 3 of the TV show. I just found myself wanting to keep going back to it. I feel like it had the perfect balance of like lighthearted, fun storytelling, but also talking about some pretty heavy topics that need to be discussed. I really value that in books, being able to have a little bit of both without either overpowering the other. The cringiest read, I put The Summer I Turned Pretty series by Jenny Han. You know, I would say that it was very cringy, not as cringy as the TV show, but just because it was cringy doesn't mean it was bad. Like, it definitely wasn't the best book or book series that I ever read, but I enjoyed it. Like, I was more looking for something quick, something fun, something that I didn't have to think about, and for me these books were definitely that. And even though I did think that they were kind of silly, they didn't really have any real stakes, I still found myself invested, being upset at the ending and everything. So yeah, it was cringy, but it wasn't necessarily a bad book, you know? Okay, so the next 2 questions are, what was the lowest rated book on Goodreads that you read? And what was the highest rated book? And do you agree with those ratings? So the lowest rated book on Goodreads that I read was Funeral Songs for Dying Girls, and I do agree with that. Like I was saying, I just feel like it could have been really great, and it just, a lot of people were saying it was really great, and then I actually read it and was pretty disappointed. And the highest rated book on Goodreads was Heartstopper Volume 4, which I do agree with. I can't remember exactly what happened in which volume, but I feel like I do remember liking 3 or 4 the best. So I think I would agree with that. And lastly, what is a book that you could reread? And again, I'm going to say the Truly Devious series. Again, I read the actual like trilogy 2022, but coming back to the stories with the 2 additional books in 2023, I could reread that book series 100 times. It just never gets old. So it's about this girl, Stevie Bell, who is a teen detective essentially, and she finds herself in all these different scenarios where she has to solve crimes and murders that happen around her. The main trilogy covers one big murder story, and then the individual books cover like smaller, more circumstantial cases, but they still involve her and her friends and her environment. And it's so cool. It's just so much fun. It's like, I think I love it because it walks the line between being suspenseful and confusing and interesting and intriguing, but also being fun, and like I'm invested in the characters and their lives come the last book. So I've been trying to get all my friends to read it, and I would highly encourage you to read it as well if you like true crime books. So yeah, that was definitely a series that I could reread. So to wrap this video up, I thought that I could go over my 2023 Goodreads reading challenge and kind of review what I have read this year, and then go into what my goals are for 2024. For 2023, I set a goal to read 23 books. I like matching the goal with the number of the year. I just feel like it's fun and kind of on theme. And while that seemed very realistic at the start of the year, it is now almost the second to last week of December, and I'm currently at 18 books. Goodreads is telling me I'm 4 books behind schedule. You know, am I disappointed? Yeah. Am I surprised? Not necessarily. I just think I got a lot busier this year than I anticipated, and while it's frustrating to look at the number 18 and my goal of 23 and say, why couldn't I do it? I also know that I did a lot this year, and just because I didn't meet that number doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the books I read, because I read some pretty good books this year and I had fun with it, and I think honestly that's probably what's most important. I'm probably not going to finish my challenge considering the time I have left. I think at this point it's less than 10 days. I would like to think that I can do it, and I might still try, but realistically it's probably not gonna happen. For 2024, I think that I haven't decided fully yet, but I'll probably set it at 24 books, just because again I think it's fun to match it to the number of the year. Whether I do it or not is to be seen, but I think it's more about having fun than actually meeting the goal, you know? As far as priorities for reading next year, I really want to work on reading what I own, because I have like this cube bookshelf over here, and there's 2 cubes over on the far side that are just full of my books that I haven't read yet. So I'd like to start chipping away at that. I kind of tried to work on that this year, and I would say I was pretty successful, but there's still quite a lot of books on that shelf. So I think I can keep working on that in the new year. But I think I'd just like to prioritize books that I want to read. You know, I am part of a book club, so I want to try and read as many books for that book club as possible, but I also want to make time for reading or even rereading books that interest me, rather than just trying to tick a box. I think something else that I want to remember is keeping a realistic mindset when it comes to reading. Like I was kind of saying, I got disappointed when I realized how far behind I was on my reading challenge, but then I have to widen the lens there and think about all of the things that I did do this year. Maybe I didn't always have time for reading, or maybe I didn't always have the motivation to read, but it's okay because reading is supposed to be for fun and it's supposed to be a hobby. So just trying to remember that there is no pressure. I'm making these goals for myself to have fun, not to meet some sort of standard, right? So yeah, 2024 should be a good year. So yeah, that is my end of year reading wrap up. If you have any video ideas or feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And while you're there, maybe consider answering the question of the day, which today is going to be, what is your favorite book that you read this year / what are your reading goals for the new year, if you have any? I'm getting fancy. I have 2 questions of the day today. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 10. See you then. Bye.